Okay, folks, it's now time to go to case number 2 for the conspiracy. We are back in Grimsboro and Fairview. Hell is other people. Matthew, I know your return to Grimsboro has been difficult with your ex-colleague being murdered, but I have good news. We've been assigned our first case together. I mean, it isn't good news for the victim, of course. A Mrs. Elaine Seabrook has been murdered outside her home on Elmwood Avenue. The caller claims to be your husband. We should head on over there right away, Matthew.
Smoky or natural art? Natural. Good choice. How about calling or texting? I'm calling. Puppies or kittens? Sorry, cats. My eyes or artificial tears? Wait, that's a trick.
Okay, there we go.
Because they can both stand in your way. That's why it's super important to chat with your eye doctor if you're using artificial tears or not, and your eyes still feel dry. Next question. Guys? I think it's time we mix things up. Cheetos extra cheesy mix-ups.
I want the most out of my health and life.
Okay.
So I trust Nature. Because they were the first to be verified by USP. Quality, purity standards.
Nature Made, the #1 pharmacist recommended vitamin and supplement brand.
Well, there's the first one. I found the body. Okay. I'm a little bit under the weather, but I am okay with well enough to film.
How often do you feel the urge to go to the bathroom? 4 times a night.
20 times a day.
I stopped counting. See why 4 out of 5 women recommend Azo Bladder Control to help control the urge all day and all night.
Dear God, Matthew, this woman was nailed to her white picket fence. This is one gruesome murder for a fancy suburb like Fairview. Officers, thank goodness you're here. I just arrived home from my morning walk to find Elaine like this. Oh, Elaine, I can't believe someone could have done this to my beautiful wife. We're sorry for your loss, Mr. Seabrook. Please step to one side. Senior Trooper Matthew will speak to you in a moment. Matthew, I'll make sure Martine gets started on the autopsy. Did you find anything else? Good point. That jacket was next to the victim's body, so it must have belonged to her. Gucci. Now that's one expensive brand. Yes, I noticed that too. There's some kind of faded mark on the jacket. Let's get this investigation started by taking a closer look at it, Matthew.
A simple assault into brown beef. When the shit fits, client shot an innocent cop, a wife, a mother.
Because his brother was murdered 8 years ago, and a whole bunch of other innocent cops shined him and his mother on.
Which is a fact you can take up with the district attorney, counselor.
Look, if they ever get around to it, we'll quickly see.
18 hours, and I need to get stars. Don't go anywhere. I'll be back. Okay, I got myself 10 stars. Let's talk to Aaron Seabrook. Senior Trooper Matthew, I still can't believe it. How could such a thing have happened? This is supposed to be a quiet neighborhood. Do you have any idea of who could have done this to your wife, Mr. Seabrook? No, we only moved into the neighborhood a few months back, after I got a new job. Elaine gave up work to look after things around the house. We haven't even had time to make friends, let alone enemies. I just don't know how I can go on without Elaine. I know this isn't easy, Mr. Seabrook, but if we hope to catch your wife's killer, we're going to have to look inside your home.
Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms. If you have inflammatory bowel disease, tell your doctor if symptoms develop or worsen. Serious allergic reactions may occur.
We'll do that, but first, I'm going to examine the white jacket first.
Ask your dermatologist if Cosentyx can help you correct your your scanner files. The Labrador Retriever and the Golden Retriever are very different. They eat, digest, and process energy differently. At Royal Canin, we developed over 200 precise formulas to transform every cat and dog into a magnificent animal. Royal Canin. This is Debbie. She has some because she doesn't have Sprint Unlimited that now includes Hulu.
Who's that?
That's to you who has Sprint and Hulu and can stream the shows that everyone's talking about.
There we are. Well, it's only 3. Is that a tire track on the victim's jacket, Matthew? Someone must have driven over it. And considering you found the jacket right next to her lifeless body, I think it's safe to assume that mark was left by the killer's car. Kathy should be able to identify the model for us. Let's get that jacket to her. Okay, 3 hours.
Just some cramps. Hold on. Say it's like starting night. Sometimes I have to call in sick.
And you called it Pete?
Kinda. Say it's like something's hammering at my ears. Even if it's not my ears.
A few respects.
Speak up. Actually, it's all terrible.
If you have painful periods, pelvic pain in between periods, or pain with sex, ask your gynecologist if it could be endometriosis. 1 in 10 women have it, yet really don't know it. Learn more at speakendo.com.
Okay, I think I see at least one clue. Yep. Broken porcelain.
Spicy chicken sandwich is the answer. It's a tender breast of chicken and a secret mix of fiery spices right into your mouth. So if you're in the heat, grab a wet spicy chicken sandwich today.
Whether something gets into, get it out.
Okay.
Try it now. All Free Clear, the #1 recommended brand for sensitive skin.
The funeral home was owned by Douglas Lexhall.
Was?
He was convicted 4 years ago for selling corpses without permission to foreign medical schools. The ADA handling the case thought they'd ID'd all of the missing bodies.
That is a real comfort. With the way this case has been handled to date, I wouldn't be surprised if there are...
Well, this place sure is nice, Matthew. I wonder what house prices are like in the neighborhood. Right, back to business. That college yearbook you picked up shows Elaine when she was younger. Kinda makes me nostalgic for my own university days. It looks like our victim was pretty chummy with this girl, whoever she is. A quick look at the database should allow us to ID her. And there's no doubt this handbag belonged to our victim. A quick rummage through it wouldn't go amiss, Matthew. As for those broken pieces of porcelain, I've always been terrible at puzzles, but if you think you can handle it, then go ahead.
Approximately 10:15 p.m. Stevie Thomas was not at home working on his physics work. He was not watching the Knicks beat the Clippers on television. He was not talking to his friends on the phone. On February 4th, approximately 10:15 p.m., Thomas was in his mother's car without her knowledge, driving past the market diner over on 11th Avenue. February 4th, at approximately 10:15 p.m., police officer Alice
Cynthia Lane.
after having a cup of coffee with several other officers from the 31st Precinct.
That plate reads, Cynthia Lane welcomes you to Fairview. I suppose Cynthia must be the woman in the center. I'm not sure what kind of person offers their face on a plate as a welcome gift, Matthew, but I guess you better talk to this Cynthia about our victim.
He fired 3 times. One of those bullets struck Officer Cushman in the shoulder. Defense counsel will present a bevy of possible explanations. In a court of law, the
Miss Lane, we'd like to ask you a few questions about your relationship with Elaine Seabrook. We found your plate in her living room. Oh, of course. That's my welcome gift to every new arrival. I'm in charge of all the neighborhood events, you see. Bake sales, gardening workshops, you name it, I organize it. It's terribly hard work, but sometimes you just have to sacrifice yourself for the good of the community, don't you think, Senior Trooper Matthew? Anyhow, may I ask what this is all about, officers? I do hope Elaine hasn't gotten herself into any trouble.
Shooting pain running down my side.
You could say that. Elaine Seabrook has been murdered. A murder? Here in Fairview? How appalling. But to be perfectly honest, I hadn't yet gotten to know Elaine as well as I'd have liked. So I'm afraid I can't help you. Hopefully I can get over this sickness pretty soon.
Anything about the drug?
Basically, it's just a runny nose.
He's African American, if that's what you mean.
That's exactly what I mean.
Okay, college yearbook now. I'm pretty sure that might have answered the question for who is in the girl is in the college yearbook. But let's see. No, it doesn't.
Was found in the trunk of an abandoned car in Long Island City. The car was registered to one jail house. Did there ever come a time when you personally spoke to defendant Stevie Thomas? Yes. My partner, Detective Driscoll, brought him down to the squad for questioning. And what happened?
Rosamund Wilcox. So our victim's friend from college is a Rosamund Wilcox, 36 years of age. I recognize that name. This Wilcox is the principal at my son's school. I haven't spoken with Principal Wilcox yet, but I guess now's my chance to meet her. I kind of see a little bit of a similarity to Tess Goodwin.
Before the defendant confessed. I see.
A slight resemblance, I don't want to say big resemblance.
Kind of the truth. Tag-teaming a suspect is often the most efficient way to interrogate him. Throws the suspect off. Sometimes he forgets what he told one detective.
Hello, you must be Carter's mother. How may I help you? Actually, I'm not here about my son. Elaine Seabrook was found murdered this morning. We believe you knew each other. Elaine has been murdered? How terrible. I have to admit, I hadn't seen her in years. We used to be on the cheerleading team together back in college. I heard Elaine had moved to Fairview a few months back, but I've been so busy with work that anyone who's not a parent has fallen off my radar. We used to have so much fun together. If only I'd made the effort to get back in touch.
John was in control.
Isn't it true you told Stevie that the department gives out toaster ovens for every African-American child you beat the crap out?
I wasn't serious.
You were joking.
That's right.
What did your partner, we've already testified with Washington and Glass, what did he do when you joked with my client? He watched a white car, just watched, while his partner threatened a black door. Does this have any objection?
A doctor's prescription.
Whose prints are you?
It was like clean.
What's that piece of paper you found in the victim's bag, Matthew? Oh, that's a prescription for a victim from the local doctor's practice. This prescription was filled out this morning, but the doctor's name is illegible. Here's hoping you can recover it.
What are you saying, especially this jury? What's different about this jury that they wouldn't recognize a good actor wants to show how irresponsible the force is when dealing with the black community? Gave you the brush protection. You did the exact jury portrait.
Let's see.
You paid a different picture. How? We don't have any more witnesses. Keep arrest, Your Honor. At this time, Your Honor, the defense is its opening statement. Chambers, Your
Gene
Honor.
Gibbs, MD.
Open in the middle of the trial. I don't see why not. The court rules give me the right to give an opening statement to the jury. They don't specify when.
So the doctor who gave the victim this prescription is a Dr. Gibbs. Greg Gibbs. The prescription might only be for flu medicine, but if Dr. Gibbs saw the victim right before she was killed, we better talk to him. I agree.
Let's talk about it. Let's start this in spitting distance from the jury. Who gets to open first and close last? If you forgot, it's a statement on both counts. I'm just trying to offset the overwhelming advantage the state has the moment we open the doors to their court.
Officers, unless this is urgent, I have 3 patients in my waiting room who require my attention. So can we please make it quick? We're here regarding the death of Elaine Seabrook. We understand you were her physician. Mrs. Seabrook is dead? But I saw her just earlier today. She only had a case of the flu. She can't be dead. My bad, Dr. Gibbs. I should clarify that Mrs. Seabrook was in fact murdered.
He was what?
Oh, thank God.
I was mad.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean it that way. I didn't know Mrs. Seabrook well, but if there's anything I can do, please don't hesitate to let me know, Senior Trooper Matthew. And that's gonna do. I'll see you guys when these two are done.
I was invisible.
Contest. What we're talking about are bills.
Okay, we have returned. Let's get the results of the body from Martine.
It's mapped out to be a marketplace of ideas.
Well, Matthew, I don't want to brag, but this autopsy, I totally nailed it. Jokes aside, one thing is clear. For the nails to be this deeply embedded into your victim's body, the killer had to have used a nail gun. A nail gun? Charming. We better keep an eye out for it then. I can also tell you that the first nail was shot into the victim's forehead, killing her instantly. But unfortunately for your killer, they left traces of their peppercorn steak sauce on the nails when they fed them into the nail gun. So our killer eats steak. Well, pardon the pun, but they put their future at stake when they decided to take a life, Matthew.
If you've used the community process properly, took in community input, addressed community concerns, then the very bills that we end up with, while they may be fewer, are actually the quality bills.
And the tire print from Kathy. Hey there, Matthew. It's nice to see you again. And nice to meet you, Gloria. Thanks, Kathy. Is that baby Sammy? I didn't know you had him today. Yeah, poor darling's running a fever. Alice is up all night with him. I brought him into the office so that his dad could get some rest. And, I'm afraid Sammy threw up all over that jacket you sent me, Matthew. Oh, man, that's the last thing I needed on my first day on the job. Don't worry, I'd already taken pictures of the print which I ran through the database. And I can tell you that the print was made by an SUV tire. So now we know our killer drives an SUV, Matthew. Well, they can key their next destination to their GPS, prison. Well, Matthew, this is my first case at the Greensboro PD, and I have to admit that I'm stumped. We've learned that the victim moved to Fairview a couple of months back with her husband, Aaron. But nobody else seems to have formed a close relationship with her. The victim's neighbor said she hadn't gotten to know Elaine properly yet. While the school principal, who knew the victim back in college, hadn't taken the time to reconnect with her. We're short on leads here, Matthew. Not anymore, you're not. You see, I took a look at that peppercorn steak sauce Martine found on the nails used to kill your victim. And I know exactly where your killer ate that steak.
Like Kevin. How you guys doing? Good? Now let's parents chat with the rest of the family. And Kevin watch.
We'll find out in Chapter 2. Don't go anywhere. Okay, let's start Chapter 2 of Hell is Other People. Then have I got good news for you, Matthew. I took a look at that peppercorn steak sauce Martine found on the nails used to kill your victim. And I can tell you that your killer ate it at the Fairview Steakhouse. You can tell that just from the sauce? Yeah, the sauce is particular to that restaurant. The recipe is a closely guarded secret. I've been trying to replicate it for ages. Well, Matthew, if our killer dined at the Fairview Steakhouse, then we should check it out right away.
For just $59.99 a month. High-quality voice service for $29.99 a month. Take advantage of Hawaii's most advanced fiber network now. Get internet 5 times faster than the cable company, plus voice service you can actually count on.
Island News is sponsored by Hawaiian Telecom.
2018 off to a solid start for Hawaii's Michelle Lee. Knocked down this for birdie at the 8th. This year's Pure Stroke Bahamas LPGA Classic. We shot an even 73 to tee up the first LPGA event of the year. And this was her third shot at the par 5 11. This one was a much cooler bird, Eagle. Michelle's tied for 18th right now after one round of golf. We tried to ride the momentum she picked up in 2017. For her farm game to cut in all over 4 tournaments last year, 8 top 10 finishes, 6 in the top 5. That's compared to just 1 top 10 finish in 2015 and 16 combined. Missing the cut in over half the events she played in. The first tournament of 2018, with average wind speeds of 18
Classic
to
Trey.
26 miles per hour and gusts to 35.
I really wasn't easing into the season today. It was a lot of fun. It was really great to be back in competition.
Here we go.
A couple things I forgot to do. It was like, what do I do with my yard?
2 seconds.
Distance, but it was fun. Just being out here, being healthy, and to be able to give it my all, that's all I can ask for. Is just to be the opportunity, to give it my 100%. And I had so much fun out there today.
And this is a good sign right here, Judy. It's something that we haven't seen in recent memory out of the show.
I just want to be focused. I just really want to put everything into the season. My body, everything, and just be healthy enough to be able to do that. And
Matthew, if dirty plates are your thing, I've got a bunch that need doing at my place. Just kidding. If you think you might find a clue in that tray, be my guest. As for that receipt, the ink's been washed away. But if you can recover the details, we might get a new lead.
Is that even on, now that's below the projected cut line, shot around 172. Nearly holds it here at 16. Meanwhile, the leader heading into tomorrow's second round in San Diego, former Pearl Bay Pro Tony Finau, second under par, he holds a 1-stroke lead over Ted Carter Jr. 5 home. Back here home in Game 9 for the Bruins women's basketball team, Hawaii hosts Eastern Stat Show Center. And while they are just 1-0 in Big West play, Windows are being nice and halfway down to their conference slate, and still very much in the mix for this year's conference tournament.
Losing has to hurt enough for people to make a change. And nowadays, superficial
Okay.
to make real change. And I know as a group, they're hurting. They want to win.
Well, not only did our killer visit this steakhouse, it appears our victim did too, Matthew. And according to this receipt, she was served by a waiter called Tyler. I was just about to suggest having a chat with this Tyler. I'm glad you agree. Let's go.
Issues, which is incredible with music. There is a true desire, but we have to have action to back the desire. And if that happens, then yeah, we'll start winning this week.
Tip-off in Mono between Rainbow Martina and Mad Roses tonight at 7. I'll have highlights from this game. Either Irish Sports at
Welcome to Fairview Steakhouse. Can I take your order? We're not here to eat, I'm afraid. We're investigating the murder of this woman. She was killed earlier today. You're investigating a murder?
If you wear the tiger, that's what happens.
Well, I have a rock-solid alibi. I was at school all day, and then I came straight here for my shift. Don't worry, nobody is accusing you of anything, Tyler. Now, what can you tell us about Elaine Seabrook? Well, she came in here a lot, always insisted on ordering the veggie salad with no dressing, low-fat mozzarella, a quarter of an avocado, and 3.5 steaks of asparagus. Stalks of asparagus. But who chooses a salad over a nice juicy steak? I never got that woman.
Students and staff from 12 of 36 public charter schools in Hawaii took part. School choice is touted as a way to give parents the power and the funding to choose where and how to educate their children, whether it's a public, private, charter, or homeschool. Supporters say it gives low or middle-class parents more educational options. Those against it claim school choice takes away resources from public schools by using school vouchers.
Understand why people wouldn't put the fast needs of children.
Sunglasses.
I think that sometimes
There we go. Bloody sunglasses. What the heck were those sunglasses doing in that tray, Matthew? They're covered in blood. And you're right, they've got our victim's initials on it. Matthew, clearly our victim didn't bring her own blood-soaked sunglasses here. The killer must have come back after the murder. Let's send them to Rupert on the double.
Are the ones still in our public schools and they even have less funding to spend on them?
According to HSTA, in Hawaii, all charter schools are public.
12 hours.
Soon,
And I'll see you guys when this is done.
their kids
51 to make it through our rigorous selection process.
Okay, we have returned now, and let's get the results of Bloody Sunglasses from Rupert. Rupert, come on, virtual reality is the future. I'm sure you'd like it if you just tried it. I shall not have that thing placed on my head under any circumstances. Oh look, Matthew is here. Amir, do us a favor and put the kettle on, will you? Fine, but I'll win you over to my way of thinking sooner or later. Thank goodness you arrived, Matthew. Amir won't stop going on about that newfangled piece of technology he's got. Ha! Kids these days. My son Carter is technology obsessed too. Anyways, always going on about wanting the latest iPair gadget. Quite. Now back to your more conventional eyewear. The blood on those sunglasses was indeed your victim, which also confirms your killer handled them. But in doing so, they also had traces of undiluted garden fertilizer on the sunglasses. Fertilizer? That means our killer must be a fan of gardening. Well, I have no doubt you'll weed them out, Matthew. And you're right. Cynthia Lane mentioned being in charge of the community gardening workshops. I'll add it to her profile. Well, so far she's in the clear. Well, Matthew, we might have found another piece of this puzzle, but we're still lacking suspects with a solid motive for murder. I agree. Maybe having another look at our victim's house would shed more light on her death. We'd better go back.
Now we have furniture and friends.
Anything you want nearby.
Every last breath, every close call, the killing's out there. And the only one who works is what makes them tick. And if you wait a second, you'll hear the ticking too.
We're gonna find her.
Criminal Minds Marathon, Wednesdays at 3 on Sundance.
First down the general, they got Johnny along with 28 other members of the Alamo.
Okay.
He told me I was the 6th caseworker in 10 years.
Just what every team needs, consistency.
They tell me a couple more years I'll be ready to quit too. These cases are hours and a half. He tested positive for heroin at birth. Johnny never had a chance.
They'll put him on a foster care merry-go-round and put him on.
Just because he
Safe.
had the right plumbing didn't make her Lasky fit to be a mother.
Now we got to talk to the
2 months ago,
There we go.
for class every shade. Anyway, Johnny went into foster care and Tori went into rehab. You know the rest.
Not quite. We'd love to see the foster parents.
Sure. We put him in with Flo Bishop. He lucked out. She's terrific. She knew Johnny was a hard man.
Matthew, is it just me, or does that cake you picked up smell kind of off? The smell seems to be coming from that brown icing. I agree. I think I'll let you vacuum up a sample. And a safe is always a safe bet for clues. Let's crack that lock and see what's inside.
No better than a prison.
Well, it's better than a warm, don't you think?
I never known. I try to provide for these boys some kind of stability. I thought Johnny was making more progress. He went to a 6 o'clock show at the movies. He watched 2 of the other boys, Chris and Andy. On the way home, they turned around and he's gone.
Do they have any idea where he went?
They just said he took off. I could guess. And usually the boys run away. They go back to their parents.
Probably mom and dad get to that again.
1, 2, 2, 2, 1. 2, 1, 8, 2, 1.
But Johnny, you could really get a slice on Dykeman and he's beamed up like some UFO graphic.
1, 2, 8, 9, 1. There we are.
Like Chris said.
Maybe he got homesick.
I don't know. My Johnny told me he made you sick. The guy his mom checked up with. A week too.
That envelope in the victim's safe reads, report on Elaine Seabrook. And are those film negatives sticking out of it? Obviously the victim didn't have herself followed, so her husband must have. But why? We need to figure it out. Isn't that Ramirez friend of yours a private detective, Matthew? Maybe he could help. Let's see what he makes of this envelope.
kid showed up. I told you I wasn't there. I was doing a game in Jersey.
All hours?
Don't get us wrong. He understood. He was red. He got from way to scene with his mom.
Did you guys are nuts? I didn't say anything.
Okay.
You know why?
That stuff smells kind of off, and that probably means something very, very bad. Neighborhood friends.
Check a time card last Friday.
Let's put that weird icing you collected from the cake under the microscope, Matthew. It should tell us what that funky smell is.
Does Dad stick around and make your chicken soup?
I don't need his help to puke my guts out. He left around 8. Why don't you just ask him?
So he left around 8. He didn't get to the club till about 11. It doesn't take 3 hours to get to Beirut.
Maybe he stopped to text the call.
Changing a few lines to protect him and make you focus to murder.
And I can.
Here we go. I thought so. Dog poop. That substance you collected from the cake isn't icing at all. It's dog poop. Good thing I didn't serve myself a slice. It's clear that the victim didn't bake herself a dog poop cake, though, Matthew. So who did? You're right. The message on the cake reads, "Neighborhood friends." And we have met one person who's licensed to revolve around the neighborhood, Cynthia Lane. But just why would Cynthia play such a dirty trick on Elaine? We better ask her. Why she gave him the cake? Why she gave her the cake? Delightful to see you again, Senior Trooper Matthew, but I'm afraid I'm just about to take my SUV to the repair shop. One of my taillights is out. That'll have to wait, Miss Lane. We found the cake laced with dog poop that you sent to Elaine. Why did you do it? Well, I'm ashamed to say that I reacted in a manner which was beneath me. But I was just so furious with Elaine. You see, I personally invited Elaine to come to one of my monthly neighborhood dinners. Only a privileged few are allowed to attend. But instead of seeing it for the honor that it was, Elaine used it as an opportunity to drink all the wine I purchased. She was roaring drunk by 9 p.m. and throwing up in my flower beds. The dinner was a disaster because of her. Nobody even wanted to eat the delicious steak I bought from the steakhouse after seeing her in that state. So you retaliated by sending her a dog poop cake? I sure am glad I don't have you as a neighbor, Miss Lane. Now she's in the right.
I can tell when your son's lying. You're pretty good.
I'll see you guys when the envelope is results of the envelope from Ramirez. Ah, Matthew, you're here for those pictures of your victim. I don't quite know how to say this, but I'm the one who chose. You were the one tailing Elaine Seabrook? Yes. Her husband hired me. He wanted proof of her infidelity so he could file for divorce without losing any of his assets. So Mr. Seabrook wanted to divorce our victim. And was Elaine unfaithful to him? Oh yes, and not with just one guy, but several. By all accounts, she was insatiable. Well, that's a far cry from the happy fantasy Mr. Seabrook sold us earlier, Matthew. We better talk to him at once. Mr. Seabrook, you played the heartbroken husband when we spoke to you earlier. But we learned But we've learned that you wanted to divorce your wife because she was cheating on you. I mean, yes, she was cheating, but that's not why I wanted a divorce. We all commit physical indiscretions from time to time, don't we? No, those pictures would have just made the divorce process easier. What really drove me mad was how Elaine used my money for her trysts. She was always spending money. The second we moved to Fairview, Elaine became fixated with keeping up with the Joneses. First, she made me buy an SUV just because the school principal owns one. Then she insisted we hire a gardener because she thought it looked cheap for me to be seen doing the gardening myself. The woman was bleeding me dry, Senior Trooper Matthew. I needed a divorce, and quick. Well, let's just hope you didn't resort to more dire measures to get rid of your wife, Mr. Seabrook.
With Expedia, one click gives you access to discounts on thousands of hotels, cars, and things to do, like the Fairmont Mayakoba, for 59% off. Everything you need to go. Expedia.
Matthew, it turns out that our victim wasn't the perfect housewife we assumed she was. She upset her neighbor by getting drunk and disgracing herself at a dinner party. While her husband wanted a divorce, not because she was cheating on him, but because she was spending all of his money. If we're going to... Oh boy. Wait, who's yelling? Ah! I'm going to break something. Someone hold me back or I swear I'm going to kill him.
Now, with bonus cash, save up to $1,500 on select models.
We'll start Chapter 3 after this.
Toys and treats. All amazing prices.
And it's time now for Chapter 3 of Hella's Other People.
Get fast, free shipping. With Chewy.com, you don't have to break a sweat or the bank.
Save 20% on your first order and get fast free shipping. Shop online at Chewy.com.
I can't believe you pried into my personal affairs, Gabriel. I understand that you're embarrassed, Rita, but there's no reason to be. I'm not embarrassed. Just know that if you ever look at my laptop again, I will... Rita, Gabriel, just what is going on? Nothing. Nothing's going on. It's really not that big a deal. I just happened to catch a glance at Rita's computer. I was on a dating site. There, I said it. I intimidate men in person, so I'm trying to meet them online. Now forget this conversation ever happened.
Whatever you're doing to stay healthy, there's something you may be missing. A key part of your
It really was just an innocent mistake, Matthew. I'd better go apologize. I'd heard Rita didn't like talking about personal stuff, but that was a little extreme. But you're right, we can't let it distract us from the case. We're in need of clues, and we're better to find them than the steakhouse our killer visited. Let's go.
Give us your time, your stress, your massive, maybe in the basement, or a sink that's his and hers, and hers, and his, and once the rocket's in it, you're right to the top of the cul-de-sac. It's not a real rocket. No, we're not stopping until you've got your own little slice of the American dream, because you can have your cake.
Yeah, actually, I ain't really out. Okay?
Carry out large 3-topping pizzas from Domino's for $7.99 each. And with Domino's new carry-out insurance, you'll get pizza if it's ruined after you leave the store. Just bring it
cell
back
phone.
and we'll remake it for free.
Which will face with tons of facing capabilities. You can save them. Put it on there. Won't protect you. You can't protect me. We will take these guys down.
Here we go.
I have never had anyone sacrifice for me.
The dangerous stuff we're talking about.
Time is of the essence. Trust your instincts. They brought you this far. In our line of work, we're all haunted. Not everyone can do what we do.
Nice job, Matthew. This cell phone appears to have belonged to the victim. She must have forgotten it here. You can learn a lot about a person by looking at their phone, so let's have a go at that password. And this appears to be a room key from a local motel. Something seems to have been written on the key. Can you recover it? We better take that torn paper back together too. Matthew, the sooner we solve this case, the better. I want to make a good impression on my first shift.
With nothing under her fingernails, Betty wore a condom too.
So she and John Doe are having sex when our slasher crashes the party, gets him out of the way so he can rape Jane Doe.
Kid's got a set of stones in his act down pat. She never had a chance.
Mutilated breasts, slit throats, hanging lingerie. Perhaps too evolved for this to be his maiden voyage.
Down at the Viscount, nothing in their files comes close to this guy's back.
Alert SBUs at the other boroughs, every police agency in the Northeast. You want to know who owns this truck?
Things like so many parts in place and has 5 partial limbs with not stolen plates. I'm working on it.
What the hell are you doing?
What am I doing? I'm installing the floor. We got the new Green Tech 8800. I just figured out how to use the old one.
John, use the phone in the meeting room. Where are we with missing persons?
No one on their list matches any descriptions of our victims.
What about the 911 call?
Big phone, payphone on the corner of the same broken into the truck. No usable prints. The 2.5 canvassed.
Tyler's message.
So we got squat until
Well, I'll be darned, Matthew. The message on that motel key was addressed to our victim. It says, Elaine, how about we meet here tonight? And it's signed by Tyler, that teenager who works here as a waiter. What on earth, Matthew? Tyler invited Elaine to a motel? We already know she was sleeping around, but he's a little more than a kid. Surely he wouldn't have. I agree. We need to talk to Tyler again, and fast.
Send Jane Doe's photo to every plastic surgeon in a 100-mile radius.
Those are identifying marks.
Tattoo on his right arm.
Tyler, we found your invitation to Elaine. Pretty slick, huh? I spent a week's wages on that room for us. Yes, very smooth. So you were having relations with our victim. I wish. I went to all the effort of booking that motel room, and then she turned me down. Laughed in my face, in fact. But I know for a fact that she was sleeping with half the neighborhood. So why did she reject me? I was humiliated. Regardless of how many people Elaine slept with, young man, you aren't entitled to expect anything from her. And if her rejection led you to commit murder, you can expect a hefty prison sentence.
Too low grade. Used mostly for stuffing pillows and cheap plush toys. So the fibers must be from whatever that truck hauled before it was turned into a mobile slaughterhouse.
How are we doing on the truck?
Can I continue to use my old phone? We'll work on the new system. Long for the days of rotary dial.
And I've been badgering one of you people for new phone since Clinton was president, so get over it, Jim.
Here. Lunch. I'm trying to reach Tracy. It's owned by a rental company in the Bronx.
Truck went out last week.
Here we go.
Carlos Martinez, address Laredo, Texas, date of birth March 91.
Oh, looks like the victim had a voicemail she had to listen to, Matthew. Well, there's only one thing for it. Let's have a listen. Mrs. Seabrook, I have asked you time and time again, please do not call to make any more appointments at Fairview Family Practice. I strongly suggest you find yourself a new physician because my secretary is under strict instructions not to take your calls. Fairview Family Practice? Matthew, this message must have been left by the physician we met earlier. I wonder why Dr. Gibbs no longer wanted Elaine to visit his practice, though. Let's ask him.
There's a house out in Sacco's Old Pub. A kid Carlos is age driving a car like that goes to a dope like this only for one reason.
Dr. Gibbs, we found your voicemail to our victim. Why was Mrs. Seabrook no longer welcome at your practice? Oh, I knew I should have told you about that.
So what are you doing now?
Well, Mrs. Seabrook was a nightmare. She was a complete and utter hypochondriac with no concern for the welfare of my other patients. She'd come and see me on the slightest pretext, sometimes multiple times a day. Sometimes she came in for things that didn't even concern her. One time she came in to ask if her husband needed to go to the ER because he'd ordered a steak rather than well done. I pride myself on my patience, Senior Trooper Matthew, but Elaine Seabrook pushed me to my limit.
Ass covering. Ready to put up with a campfire.
Bunch of scales, glass-moving bags.
It's a regular drug factory. It was the setup shop. Had a water tail split.
Why would you ditch such nice things?
Why would I change out? Try to burn a driver's license. Her name is Ramona Rodriguez. East 67th Street.
Yes, Ramona lives there. Did something happen?
She was murdered.
What?
Do you know she was doing this thing?
No, I barely knew her.
Wasn't she a roommate?
She went in my second room, but she was hardly ever here. I put an ad on Craigslist.
Matthew appears to be some sort of legal document, but somebody's doodle all over it. It's entitled Official Testimony, but I can't make out who filed it because someone wrote Poophead over their name. And that someone must be Elaine, since she's marked as the defendant. I'm guessing she's the one who drew all those doodles too. Who could have served Elaine with this legal document, and why, Matthew? We'll never be able to figure out what these scribblings all over, but hopefully Kathy can fix that.
She runs a license outside a drug factory and she's jet setting around the narco axis of people.
She was just 9 hours.
Maybe. She was smuggling heroin and left breast implants.
I'll see you guys when this is finished.
Figuring out just how many of them there
Okay, let's get the results of the debate's document from Kathy.
Take a look at this sunset
Hey again,
shot
Matthew.
as the sun went
You'll be
down.
pleased to know that baby Sammy managed not to throw up on your lab sample this time. Though I have to say, your victim must have had the emotional maturity of an infant to doodle all over this document. Yeah, Elaine might have looked like butter wouldn't melt in her mouth, but that clearly wasn't the case. So did you manage to figure out what that legal document related to? I did. The name of the person who filed that lawsuit, the so-called Poophead, that was Rosamund Wilcox, the local principal. The lawsuit relates to an event which took place while Rosamund and Elaine were both at university. You see, Miss Wilcox was almost expelled for copying Elaine's coursework. What? The principal of my son's school is a cheat? Well, that's open to debate. Miss Wilcox has always maintained that it was your victim who copied her coursework. But a few weeks back, Miss Wilcox served Elaine with this document asking her to admit responsibility for her actions. Judging by the doodles, it didn't go down so well. Now, Miss Wilcox said she hadn't reconnected with Elaine in recent years, but clearly she was lying. Let's ask her about this document.
For surf, we're looking at light and variable winds and clean conditions for our beaches, biggest waves for our northern shores at 6 to 8 feet, and a large northwesterly swell rolling in by the end of the week. I mentioned some changes to our island weather.
Miss Wilcox, when we spoke earlier, you said you hadn't been in touch with Elaine in recent years. But this document proves otherwise. Oh dear, you found that. Well, I just wanted Elaine to take responsibility for her actions. I thought she'd have grown up, that she couldn't possibly still be the same selfish, self-absorbed person she was in college. So I had my lawyer send her that document, but when I met with Elaine to get it back, she showed me what she'd done and ripped it up in front of my face. That must have been infuriating indeed. But why ask Elaine to confess after all this time? Because the incident's been a black mark on my record ever since. I missed out on a job at one of the best schools in the state because of it. And so you killed her in retaliation for ruining your prospects. Is that it? Of course not. I was angry, but I'm not a murderer, Senior Trooper Matthew. I just unwound by doing some gardening. before having a few glasses of wine with my meal at the steakhouse that night.
C16, still 100% original,
She's in the running.
100% local, and exclusive on Spectrum.
Matthew, I don't like to speak ill of the dead, but our victim really does sound like she was a terrible person. Not only did she waste the time of local physician Dr. Gibbs without any consideration for his other patients, she also had Principal Wilcox with a black mark on her record, which will affect her employment prospects for the rest of her career. With so many enemies, how are we going to discover who actually killed Elaine, Matthew? It's worth taking another look at the scene of the murder, I agree. Let's head back to Elmwood Avenue.
Welcome to the Heavenly Couples Experience at Pinta Massage. Surprise your significant other with a romantic journey of relaxation and complete contentment. Pinta Massage specializes in giving an unforgettable experience. Share the incredible view. Unwind with your own massage therapist and whisk away together on the restful escape. Pinta Massage at Century Center. See our website at pintamassage.com. Also on Facebook and Instagram.
Vehicle crashes are one of the leading causes of death for children. Car seats help protect children.
Okay, I think I see some clues.
But 75% of the car seats are not used correctly. As a child grows, the type of seat required changes. Information and videos are at safercar.gov. Click on Parent
Toolbox.
Seats and then Car Seats. Remember, safercar.gov.
Towel.
Your local Hawaii County Police or fire personnel are available to check the installation of child safety seats. Brought to you by the Hawaii Police Department.
There you go, 4 seconds.
Roof was on fire at the Stanton Sheriff's Center tonight. Third grade for the Warriors second in the rematch. 3 local guys, Colton Powell, Austin Garcia, and Larry Hughes left out all on the floor during crucial sets. The Rainbow Warriors 7-0 after knocking off undefeated Bruins on Friday night. Back to defend home court. Good evening, I'm MG Montemayor. Neither team backing down. This matchup was a thriller from start to finish. Hawaii came out set, team high kills.
I'm not particularly handy around the house, Matthew, but I'll be damned if that's not a nail gun. You found our murder weapon.
Finished with 9 and 5 kills, plus a couple aces by Powell. Sam Van Tilburg in the zone with that 4, wiping out UCLA 7.
And you're right, there are some fibers trapped in it. We'd better take a sample, quick.
Sets goals with 25-22, 20-25, 22-25, and 30-32.
As for that toolbox, if you think we might find a lead inside, then let's dig in. Matthew, I got the feeling that our first investigation together is drawing to an end. Let's catch this killer.
Michelle Lee kicked off her 10th full season as an LPGA member. That's her round 3 birdie on her 13th hole. She finished tied for 11th at 4 under par. In the end, Brittany Lincecum pulled off a 12 under par for the win in Paradise Island for the 2nd straight year and her 8th career title. And to tennis, age, nothing but a number today for 2nd-seeded Roger Federer. The Swiss beat Aaron Cilic in 5 sets to win the 6th Australian Open, retaining the title he won just a year ago. It's his 20th Grand Slam at the age of 36. And
there we are.
Age 37, the only guy older to major.
Well, your instincts proved right yet again, Matthew. That handkerchief you found in the toolbox is soaked with blood. I'd bet my bottom dollar that this handkerchief is tied to the murder. Let's get it to Rupert to find out.
No Marcus Mariota, but this game got the next best thing. Favorite target and tight end was Lady Walker for the Titans. Caught AFC's first touchdown pass in third to make it 20-10. AFC still down 23-17 in the 4th. Derek Carr darts it to Walker again to give his team its first lead of the game with 91 seconds left on the clock. Extra kick is good, and the red team took home the score. 24-23, the final. And next Sunday, Super Bowl 52 in Minneapolis, Philadelphia versus New England. I'm going to ask on the Rouge Hill. Eagles linebacker Ben emergency kicker here against Dallas this season represents in the big game. Tip-offs at 1:30 p.m.
7.
Rainbow Warriors basketball team bounces.
These fibers you collected from the murder weapon could be the clue which breaks this case wide open, Matthew. Let's get them to Rupert.
Credit them. I thought I got spot. We have work to do. It's a quick turnaround, so this game's very humbling. Oh, we gotta embrace that. Enjoy the struggle, enjoy the fight.
15 hours. I'll see you guys when this is done.
There's a lot of good teams out there.
Okay. Get the results of the bloody handkerchief from Rupert first. I'll be the one giving you the results on that bloody handkerchief you sent us, Matthew. I finally got Rupert to try out my VR headset, and to put it in his words, he had a bit of a funny turn. I think that's British for feeling unwell. Either way, Rupert's having a quick lie down. Well, I trust you're up to the job, kiddo. What did you get from the handkerchief? The blood on it was definitely the victim's, which means your killer must have wiped their hands on the handkerchief after the murder. But clearly they weren't thinking straight, because by doing so, they left a small sample of their own DNA on the handkerchief. It wasn't much, but it was more than enough for me to ascertain that you're looking for a killer who has green eyes. So our killer has green eyes. Well, we'll soon have the green lights. Slap the cuffs on them, Matthew.
Shut up. I'm not that tracker, so.
This time. Matthew, I'm just having a cuppa to ease this awful headache I've got. Rupert, we're on the home stretch here. What have you got on those fibers Matthew collected from the nail gun? You just so happen to be in luck, Matthew. These fibers pertain to a subject matter which is close to my heart. You see, the fibers are made of the finest box calf leather, as evidenced by the heavy grain and smooth finish. What's more, I also noted that the leather fibers were darker on one side than the other, suggesting prolonged contact with the oils from human skin. It wasn't hard to put 2 and 2 together. The only leather that would be in continuous contact with the skin is a watch strap. The fibers come from a good old-fashioned watch. So our killer wears a watch, do they? Well, I'm counting down the minutes until we have them behind bars, Matthew.
Which makes Hank smile, which makes everyone's ride better.
This is it, Matthew. You and I are about to solve my very first case at the Grimsboro PD. Let's arrest this killer.
So make the feeling last. New Tresemme compressed microburst. A game-changing hairspray for style without sticking.
Definitely not the husband.
Hairspray reinvented. Tresemme puts in the work so you can work it.
Why are you checking your list?
It's the neighbor.
Dead forever, do you? How do we check my credits for credit card? Sorry, that's great.
Credit card. Have yourself some credit. Welcome to Burger King. Try the 2 for $6.
Miss Lane, you're under arrest for the murder of Elaine Seabrook. Were you really that upset by her behavior that you killed her? Goodness! How dare you accuse someone like me of murder, Senior Trooper Matthew? You won't find a more upstanding member of the community. Right. So upstanding that you left a tire print from your SUV on the victim's jacket as you raced away from the scene of the murder. Is that all the evidence you have? Most of Fairview's residents drive an SUV. The pressures of suburban life necessitate a multi-purpose vehicle. Yes, and you take the pressure off by gardening. We know. You left traces of your fertilizer on the victim's sunglasses. Being green-thumbed doesn't prove I killed Elaine. No, but your green eyes do. You have traces of your DNA on the handkerchief you used to wipe your hands clean of Elaine's blood. Fine, you got me, Senior Trooper Matthew. I killed Elaine, but she deserved it. Deserved it? What? What, all because Elaine got drunk and disrupted your little neighborhood dinner party? That's insane. Of course not. That'd be ridiculous. I killed her because she threw up on my prized peonies and killed them. That's even more insane. You don't understand. I spent all year tending to my floral baby so that I can participate in Fairview's Best Kept Garden competition. This year was my year. Excuse me. I was going to win. I needed to win. But Elaine sabotaged me. She deserved to die. You have no idea of the pressure I'm under, Senior Trooper Matthew. If I'm not perfect, I'm nothing. Dang, you sure didn't lie about the pressure of suburban life, Miss Lane. You're under arrest.
What to begin with? Suicide by hanging is very unusual.
Cynthia Lane, you stand accused of the murder of Elaine Seabrook. How do you plead? Guilty, Your Honor, but you have to understand what Elaine did to me. Right. I see that you killed her because she vomited in your flower beds. Not just in my flower beds, on my prized peonies. The only things that matter around here are how well maintained your garden is, how chewy your cookies are, how often you go to Pilates. There's so much pressure to be the perfect housewife. I think I've heard enough. For the murder of Elaine Seabrook, this court sentences you to 20 years in prison, and given your evident emotional distress, access to psychological counseling. Will there be a garden? Will there be peonies? Gloria, I'd like to congratulate you on solving your first case at the Grimsboro PD. I think you're going to fit in just fine around here. Thanks, Chief. I couldn't have done it without Matthew. I knew the type of crime here would be different from Chicago, but I'm still struggling to believe a person could kill someone over flowers. My ex-husband always wanted me to give up my career and become a housewife, but stuff like this makes me glad I didn't. Anyway, I reckon we make a pretty kick-ass team, don't we, Matthew? Now I say we go off for a meal to celebrate.
I still don't know where someone else are dead. It's like Deep Throat said in All President's Men. All of the money. There's over $1 million in Captain's accounts still. You know where he spent some of it. Ain't enough gambling.
Rosamund Wilcox, Brown Eyes Instead.
Also, we'll try and get Abby to compare both.
Greg Gibbs, he was cleared from the start. Tyler Schultz, he was cleared early. Aaron Seabrook, no watch. It was Cynthia Lane. So I'll see you guys for Old Friends New Beginnings 2-6. Okay, we have come back now and let's start Old Friends New Beginnings 2-6. Alright, Matthew, I'm ready to go. Where do you want to celebrate solving our first case together? Not so fast, Gloria. Grimsboro might be a sleepy little town compared to Chicago, but the day isn't over yet. Martine has asked for your assistance, Matthew. You'll find her in the morgue. Well, we better go see what Martine wants. Before you go, Matthew, Jasper's got a favor to ask of you. Nice to meet you, Matthew. I'm Amir's boyfriend. If you've got a second, I'd like a word with you. I'll be waiting in Rupert's lab. I'll wait for you at the morgue if you want to speak to Jasper before we see what Martine wants, Matthew. Well, then again, we saw Abby grow fond of Jacqueline, or Catherine Wolf at the press. So, I guess this isn't really a surprise. Thanks for stopping by, Senior Trooper Matthew. I know you must be pretty busy and all. But Amir told me you're interested in that satellite which fell in the forest a year ago. And I've been dying to go and see it. Excuse me. I know the satellite operator closed off the forest after the crash. But I was thinking we could try to sneak in. If we get caught, we'll just pretend we didn't know. You're up for it? Great, let's head to the forest.
It's the name and address of the man whose DNA matches Abby's.
So glad you came with me, Matthew. What could be better than a stroll in the forest, reconnecting with Mother Nature? I think we're almost there. Just a few more... Hey, you! Stop where you are. This area is off limits to the public. Sir, there must be a misunderstanding. Please, we can explain.
Okay. Sure, I'll open that door.
Sir, I think there's been a misunderstanding. We're just here to see the satellite. Oh, you're just here to see the satellite, are you? Well, I've got news for you, son. This is the scene of a major accident, not something to gawk at. But the satellite crashed over a year ago. Surely it can't still be dangerous. That's where you're wrong. They say there was some kind of nuclear reactor on board. Got broken during the crash or something. The satellite operators closed off the forest since then. They say cleaning up all that radiation could take years. It's not safe for people like you to go poking around. Look, I'm not good with their technical mumbo-jumbo, but this flyer explains everything. Now take it and get out of here before I arrest you for trespassing. Oh, well, I guess you better go back to the station, Matthew. At least we had a nice walk. Matthew, I've been looking everywhere for you. What on earth are you doing all the way out here? Anyway, it doesn't matter. I need your help. You see, I lost something while I was taking a stroll on Elmwood Avenue. And since nobody has a better eye for finding stuff than you, Matthew, I figured we could look for it together. I'll make it worth your time.
Almost every Thursday night over the last 2 years, they have both been bartender thought they weren't paid. Brett couldn't explain his massive income. Not only made the salary, he had to launder it, so he got a little help from his bar honey accountant, Drew Turner. They created fictitious George Kaplan, and they ran the money through the brokerage account so they could make a living. Brilliant. You know what, son?
Sheila Bell was a great personality. You hold it?
I don't think so.
The dog park. You sure for now? Looking to rescue a pet today?
No, there's just
People tell me it has been just like this. Come take a look. You'll get a kick out of it. In a couple of days.
Is this what you lost, Detective Jones? I'm afraid it's broken. Yes, I think that might be it. Drats, Matthew, do you think you could fix that thing up for me?
Interrogation.
Okay.
That doesn't sound good.
Oh, sorry. Did not know this room was used.
Just finishing up here. Come on, Sam. Let's talk about Stonebridge, kickbacks, Swiss banks. Ain't everything.
Puzzle.
Agent McGee.
Detective Jones, is that a puzzle with your face on it? Why, that's exactly what it appears to be, Matthew. How strange. Perhaps recovering the writing might clarify things.
How did you realize she was using more money to pay off the debts? You said George Kaplan, the guy who hit on me. Who was the only other person who knew that name?
If you did, she'd have access to everything in your account.
She's lying to have you kill him. That while you could see him. So you could go after her. Scream your name.
Welcome back, partner. Oh. Here we are. Ta-da! I'm throwing a party to celebrate your return, Matthew. I know it's been hectic since you returned, so I figured a proper celebration was well overdue. So that's what this wild goose chase is all about. Well, a party sounds pretty sweet. I could do with the beer. Great. You should swing by the office to grab your stuff, Matthew. I'll see you at mine later.
Yeah. Looks like they decided to swim the last stretch. Are we taking bets on the cargo? Hey, drugs? Weapons?
Now let's see what Martine wants. I'm sorry to keep you late, Matthew, but something came up. I've even canceled a date I had planned. It was looking so promising, too. The guy had a medical joke in his timber vial. Blood is red, cyanosis is blue. I get tachycardia when I think of you. Girl, that's your idea of a promising date? Anyway, why'd you have to cancel? One of my colleagues from the emergency department called about an unidentified fatality at the steakhouse. There's nothing to indicate foul play, so normally they take care of it themselves. But my colleague swears something's off, so I agreed to take a look. Matthew, will you head over there with me to recover the body? I never thought I'd be investigating 2 deaths in one shift, Matthew. Let's head to the steakhouse. Okay. Okay.
While other insurance companies just we see something you've worked really hard for. So why not give it the protection it deserves? Chase Whitman with moderate to severe rheumatoid arthritis. Do what I did. Ask your doctor.
Oh boy, there it is.
It's proven to help.
I wonder if that's one of the suspects.
From further irreversible damage in young adults. Targeting and helping to block a specific source of inflammation
we'll find out.
To RA symptoms. Humira has been clinically studied for over 20 years.
Humira to fight infections, including tuberculosis. Sometimes fatal infections and cancers, including lymphoma. As blood, liver, and nervous system problems, serious reactions, and irreversible heart failure.
Your life isn't one size fits all. Earning your degree shouldn't be either. With the groundbreaking
okay, sorry about that, guys. My Bandicam ran out of film time 10 minutes since I haven't purchased the full version. I admit that keeling over dead at the dinner table isn't exactly common, but I can't see anything suspicious about the body. Martine, are there any signs of foul play? Well, there are no obvious signs of trauma. Clearly, the guy wasn't stabbed or shot, and he looks to have been in good shape. An autopsy should reveal whether he had any underlying health problems, or whether we're dealing with something more sinister. Just give me a few hours, Matthew.
Ugh. No luck now.
It's not coming from here.
Not over here either.
How long? 9 hours. Doesn't look like any one of the suspects. We'll find out who after this, but I gotta run to my work right now, so sit tight, everyone. Okay, it is Matthew, and we have returned. Let's get the results of the dead body from Martine. Well, Matthew, this evening didn't turn out to be such a disappointment after all. I guess that means natural causes aren't to blame here? Was the man from the restaurant murdered? That I don't know yet for sure, but I do know that a man in perfect health doesn't just go into cardiac arrest. His death was, in fact, triggered by inexplicably consuming a vast quantity of a blood pressure medicine called amlodipine. Amlodipine? Why does that name sound familiar? Matthew, you're right. Amlodipine is the drug Nathan said was missing from the zoo. Exactly. But what's interesting is that amlodipine wouldn't normally be fatal, even in such large quantities. For the drug to have prompted cardiac arrest so quickly, the victim would have needed to ingest some kind of activating agent, something which multiplied the drug's potency. My guess is that it was something he drank, but I can't be sure. I think we might be able to help out there, Martine. We've already met one of the waiters who works at the steakhouse. With any luck, he might be able to tell us what the victim drank before he died, and we might even be able to get an ID. Let's talk to Tyler, Matthew.
You've come a long way since your first tampon. You've navigated adolescence, conquered thorns, you've had babies. And this next phase, you've got this too. For vaginal dryness, there's your plans. Because you have a lot more to do.
If the Earth didn't have layers, well, you'd be drowning in magma.
Wait, what?
If the Earth needs layers, so does her chocolate bar.
Talk to him.
Get layers of crunchy and creamy. Hershey's Cookie Layer Crunch. Get layered.
Oh, crap. If you're here again, does that mean that dude was murdered, Senior Trooper Matthew? We're still in the preliminary stages of our investigation, Tyler. Can you identify the victim?
Sore throat, cough.
Yeah, that's Mr. O'Connell. He was my buddy's dad. He turned this place into a second home over the past few weeks.
9 symptoms, 1 dose.
The dude was doing pretty badly. Going through a divorce, you know. His wife was trying to get custody of the kids. He was pretty bummed out. Honestly, I felt kind of bad for the guy. Today I even offered him a cola on the house. But as usual, he brought in his own can of Rocket Cow. We don't serve it here, you see. So he did drink something. Martine was right. Where's that can of Rocket Cow now? Oh, I just cleared the table. I put everything straight in the trash. Feel free to have a look around for it, and help yourself to a burger while you...
Consulting.com today for a chance to win a free treatment. The thing about your period, it's not over when it's over. It can throw vaginal flora and yeast off balance. So take Refresh Pro B every day. Refresh probiotics for your vagina, not your digestive tract. Refresh Pro B. Put a period after your period. Liberty Mutual stood with me when this guy got a flat tire in the middle of the night.
I have the cat this time.
Did what?
Yeah, Liberty Mutual 24-hour roadside assistance helped him to fix his flat so he could get home safely.
Dad says my insurance doesn't have that.
Don't worry, I know what a lug wrench is, Dad.
Is this a lug wrench?
Maybe. You can leave worry behind when Liberty stands with you. Liberty stands with you. Liberty Mutual Insurance.
CoQ10 is the #1 cardiologist-recommended supplement for people taking cholesterol-lowering statin drugs. Qunol, with 3 times better absorption than
There's a
regular
trash can.
CoQ10.
Now let's find the rest.
Cardiologist-recommended form of CoQ10. Qunol, the better CoQ10.
Tired of never having enough light to put on your makeup just right? Sick of not being able to see up close? You need to the most? Then you need My Foldaway Mirror, the lighted double-sided vanity mirror with 10 times magnification. My Foldaway Mirror features super bright LEDs on both mirror sides for picture-perfect illumination. Now, close-up work is easier than ever. From applying makeup and
As you
trimming
can
your
see,
eyebrows
I
and
did
doing up-close inspections.
manage
And
to
you'll
get
love
a lucky
this.
find.
It takes up virtually no space on your countertop.
This is very rare, but it works out.
13 inches high. My Foldaway Mirror comes to you.
Matthew, I guess this must be the trash can Tyler told us about. Let's see if Mr. O'Connell's soda can is still in there.
Crystal clear and easy to see. Call or go online now to get your My Foldaway Mirror for just $19.99. When you order today, we'll ship your entire order free. But to really light up this offer, you can get a second My Foldaway Mirror for a separate fee. Call or visit our website at myfoldaway.com.
I was so terrified with this weapon.
He actually told you he intended to kill you.
Yes, that's what he said. I tried to stop him. I even
There it
tried to
is.
phone him while he was tearing through my suitcase. I
See
put
it.
it in his. He didn't seem to look there. He was so angry, frustrated, he just left.
8.
No, but this about telling who this girl is.
That's definitely a can of Waka Cow you found in the trash, Matthew.
Strikes me this whole story is pretty
The question is,
far-fetched. I mean, we
could
only
this be
have
what
two
amplified the
words
fatal
to
reaction Mr. O'Connell had to the amlodipine? Martine should be able to find out. Let's send the can to her.
Thank you.
This is 6 hours. You know what? I'm gonna go ahead and speed this up. Matthew, this can of Waka Cow was the missing link I needed. Firstly, the saliva on the rim of the can belonged to Mr. O'Connell, so he definitely drank from it. Secondly, I found deposits of amlodipine at the bottom of the can. So our dead guy mixed the two together? Is that what killed him? Definitely. The amount of caffeine in Waka Cow would have boosted the effect of the amlodipine tenfold, including cardiac arrest almost instantly. So mixing amlodipine and Waka Cow gives you a lethal weapon. No wonder Nathan was worried about the missing shipment of the drug. There's one problem, however. It's impossible to know whether Mr. O'Connell was willingly mixed those two ingredients together to end his own life, or if someone else made that decision for him. So we don't know if we're dealing with a suicide or a murder? I'm afraid not. I talked to the chief and she thinks it warrants further investigation, but she doesn't think it's worth our time. Another precinct will handle things from here. Well, let's just hope it was suicide, Matthew. Else we might have a bigger problem on our hands.
No, I just haven't told him this exciting New York City. He's been a little upset.
Oh, Matthew, you're still here? Well, while I have you, I want to congratulate you again. Jones had told me a lot about you, so much so that I thought he might be exaggerating, but I see now that he wasn't. I'm glad to have you on the team. But I won't delay you any longer. I think Jones has prepared a party for you, hasn't he? Have a great evening, Matthew.
I'm not sorry he said exactly what you did.
Oh, we're not done yet?
Would you like to talk about it, Joe?
Oh yeah, that's right. We had to attend Jones's party.
There isn't much to tell. I met him in a bar. He offered me a ride home. He had a real car. Should have realized how
Matthew, finally! We were just about to start on the champagne without you.
Yes. A family.
It's great to see you, Matthew. I was afraid we wouldn't be able to make it, but baby Sammy's finally feeling
Is
better.
that how you hurt your leg?
Aw, I'm glad to hear it. What a lovely way to end a busy day. I'm kind of bummed that we didn't manage to see the satellite, though. I've been looking forward to it for ages. Oh, come on. It's just a hunk of metal. Besides, I think it's time for a toast. Matthew, here's to old friends and new beginnings. To old friends and new beginnings. Now, who wants to try out my new VR headset?
And they've been paying ever since.
It was only right.
What he did to our little girl.
It wouldn't have done Janet no good to put him in jail.
Well, it's been quite a party, Matthew. And thanks again for partnering with me on my first shift.
I think I can understand.
I'm so puzzled by Mr. O'Connell's death, though. Even if all the signs do point towards suicide. Anyway, guess there's nothing more we can do about it tonight. But we better keep an eye out for that missing shipment of amlodipine, Matthew.
We were here together watching television. All of us. All night, and we'll swear to it. You're not going to do anything?
There's nothing I can do. I checked out what you told me. Custer's denying all of it. From that wire, barrel. There isn't a shred of evidence. Well, I think that's all a sideshow anyway. Again, let's go out here.
But you don't have any evidence against Sheriff Maxwell. You don't even have his fingerprints on the murder weapon.
So you work on it. The details of my investigation are confidential, Mr. President.
That is a medical examiner's report. And unless my eyes are bad, it says that Brad Elman...
Come on.
Place, so Mr. Missile.
Okay, I had to do the sticker packs. February 1st, that's a Thursday.
Perhaps that explains it in the gloves. Lieutenant Powell, if you're really interested in solving Rathbone's murder, perhaps you'd like to go along with a little experiment.
We are jumping for kids through dogs. We got a lot going on. There are families just like you. And they're part of ours. A typical family.
5 new ones.
Meet the Beats. Premiere Sunday, February 18th at 10 on Hallmark Channel.
Nice and
Another 5.
they're different. It's nice to remove artificial ingredients. Kind, never had to. We choose real ingredients. Nuts, peanuts, and a drizzle of dark chocolate. Find your favorite and give Kind a try.
Don't wait until February. Walk into a Jackson
Another 5.
and you can get up to $3,200. So why wouldn't you can get up to $3,200 with a no Go to Jackson
4 this time.
So probably take it at night. If you have any questions, that's first. That's not just your
At Walgreens, how we care will change over time, but why we care remains the same. Treating everyone with the care and attention they deserve. Walgreens, trusted since 1901.
While expecting, Jennifer discovered the Chex Mix combination of 1 corn Chex, 1 wheat Chex, and 3 breadstick pieces. Her little bundle of joy can't stand breadsticks, but what's it
Now
going
we're
to
2 cases
Get
in.
more, and then you can pick your own mix, baby. Pick your mix with Chex Mix.
Make a big change to your bathroom. Options? Yeah, you've got them. With a new collection of vanities that are on trend. And savings to keep you
24 in this one, 12 in this one, so 36 stickers total.
right in your hands. See? Change is a very good thing. Start making changes now with vanity starting at $129. Oh, more savings, more food.
And I'll see you guys on February 1st. See y'all then.